Good afternoon, good evening. This is Jonathan with Steel Bear Academy, and I'm going to be talking about a subject that comes up a lot with new gun owners. When people are deciding what gun to buy first, or maybe a second or third gun, a gun that comes up a lot is the pump shotgun. So, the pump shotgun, these are the two most popular pump shotguns that almost everyone's going to recommend. If you look up, what pump shotgun should I buy first? This is almost always on those lists. They are the Remington 870 and the Mossberg 590. Also the 590A1 or the Mossberg 500 or the Mossberg Maverick 88. Those are different value points and product points of the Mossberg line. Whereas on the 870, there's only really 3 types of 870s. Almost all of them are going to be express models, which is basically the budget or value shotgun. There's also the 870 Police. Those ones are quite rare. And there's the 870 Wingmaster, which you'll be able to recognize by the highly glossy blue finish that is not like this shotgun or most of the expresses. So why are these shotguns so popular, and why do people pick a pump shotgun as their first shotgun or secondary gun? Well, there's a couple big reasons. One is cost. These are very inexpensive shotguns by most measurements of the shotgun market. This shotgun, if you wanted to buy a shotgun that is basically this configuration, it would probably be around $600. This same shotgun, brand new, is probably going to be around $600. However, these are not stock shotguns. They have been modified a little bit. So something that a lot of people are interested in when they're buying their first pump shotgun is because they hear about the modularity of that shotgun. They hear, oh, you can replace the barrel, you can replace magazine tubes, extend magazine tubes to make it hold more rounds, get different stocks, different forends. And that is definitely the case on both of these shotguns. These are the two most popular pump shotguns by far. And so you can pretty much get every accessory you want for both of them. As you can see, these two shotguns are actually wearing the same stock. This is the Magpul SGA stock. They are both wearing the Magpul forend. They've both been added some Picatinny rail pieces right here and right here. And this one has a rail also that's on top of it. That's an aftermarket accessory. That doesn't come stock on the shotgun. Well, let's talk about some of the differences of why you'd pick both, because they're both very proven weapons. So the 870, let's start with that one. The 870 has been around for a long time, like 50 plus years. It has the claim to fame of being the most sold shotgun, the most sold shotgun of all, not just pump, but of all time. And they've sold a lot of these. And for good reason. Probably the biggest claim to fame for the 870 is the steel receiver. So the receiver is this part here. The barrel connects into the receiver. The receiver is this kind of squarish part here. And it is made from a solid block of steel that they mill out, which makes it very strong, very rugged. Also quite heavy. So this gun, if you pick equal offerings, is quite a bit heavier than the Mossberg. Just picking the two up, they're pretty close in weight, but this one is slightly heavier. With the 870, you've got two. Let's go to the Mossberg for a second. The Mossberg, since we're talking about receivers, this is one of the big differences. The Mossberg has an alloy receiver. So this part here is made of aluminum alloy. And so it is strong, but it is not nearly as strong as the steel. It also is a little less heavy. So you save a little weight by giving up a little bit in, let's say, long-term ruggedness, long-term durability. The Mossberg line comes in several different offerings, as I talked about. At the bottom is the Maverick 88, which is basically the economy line of the Mossberg line. That one comes in around $200 during normal times, about $200. The Mossberg 500 has a few extra features that comes in around $300, $350, somewhere in there. That is by far the most common type of Mossberg you'll see. Those are the ones you see in big box stores like Dick's Sporting Goods, Big 5, Walmart, etc. The 590, which this is, the 590 is very similar in the Mossberg 500, except that it has a different attachment point here. So the Mossberg 500 has like a little screw on the end of the barrel that you would screw into the magazine tube here. And so you can't change the magazine tube capacity. So this is the magazine tube. On this type of design, you can unscrew this cap, add on a longer piece of metal here, and extend your capacity, which is basically what I've done here. So the magazine tube is this piece right here. I screwed on an extension, extended it out to have 3 extra rounds. And rounds are a big deal on a shotgun because they're such large ammo that you can't hold very many rounds in this. This is a 20-inch barrel, and this one holds 7 plus 1, I believe. So 8. That is standard for 20-inch barrels of shotgun. You'll have less rounds if you use a longer shot shell. So this is a standard 2 3/4 inch shot shell dummy round that we can use today. So if you load up this shotgun with 7 plus 1 of these, you get 7 plus 1. But if you use a slightly longer 3-inch or just slightly longer 2 3/4 inch, there's variation amongst them. You'll lose out on a couple rounds of capacity. One of the biggest differences between these two shotguns is the controls. So on a pump shotgun, when the hammer is cocked, there's an internal hammer, and these guns have all been safety checked. Nothing in the chamber here. No rounds in the magazine tube. I've checked them all, but you can check with me as well. So when the hammer is cocked, the action does not open. When you pull the trigger, it will allow the action to open. And that's how you would eject a spent round and then pull forward and load in a new round. Now when the hammer is cocked, you can't open it, right? So there's a button called the action release or slide release or whatever you want to call it. It's this little button back here on the Mossberg. So while I'm in my firing grip, I can reach it with my middle finger here. So this is one of the biggest differences between these two guns. People like that because they don't have to change their firing grip. Once they've gotten their firing grip, they can work their slide as they please. This is in opposition to the 870, where your action release is this little metal tab up here. As we talked about, these guns are unloaded. You can take a look in there. So same thing, when the hammer is cocked on the inside, you can't pull back on the action. When you fire, it will release it, so you can do the same thing. You pull back, that ejects a spent round. You pull forward, it loads a new round into the barrel, and you're ready to fire again. If you want to open the action for some reason, you would change your grip from up here. You would reach forward, push on that little action bar. I'm using my middle finger. Hold it, pump, do whatever you want to do with that, and then come back to the firing grip. And some people don't like that because they see that as being inferior, because you have to change your master grip. You have to change your grip away from right here where it should be, ready to fire. And it also has the most control for your right hand. And they see that as a downside. I don't really see that as a downside. So while it is easier to hit this button when you mean to, it's also easier to accidentally hit it. So I've shot this shotgun quite a bit, and I have never found that I've accidentally pushed the slide release here, the action release, whatever you want to call it. I've found that I've accidentally pushed it 0 times. However, I could see if you were, being a little careless or a little, haphazard or whatever you want to say, it is feasible that you could accidentally hit this and pull your gun slightly out of battery, and that would be less than ideal, especially in a defensive situation. You don't want to be doing that. So, with the added convenience of getting to it also comes the added drawback of you accidentally might push it. With the 870, there's no way that you're going to accidentally hit that. It's far away from both hands. You have to change your grip deliberately to use that action release. It's also not a big deal for me because the times that you would use that are very slim. It is used for loading around. You push on that, drop around in, chambering around. It is also used for unloading the gun. So if I don't want to fire it by pulling the trigger, I would push on the action release and I can dump out my round. It's also used if I have a round in the chamber and I want to change it for some other type of round. So one of the benefits of the shotgun is that you can have different types of loadings. Most often you would change from buckshot to a slug. So buckshot is 8 or 9 little kind of small pellets, large for a shotgun, but smaller pellets than a slug. A slug is a single full bore projectile that shoots out of the shotgun. So you might change to a slug. It's called a slug changeover. So let's say you had a tube full of buckshot and you all of a sudden you want a slug. You would not fire the round. You would go to your action release, pull back, take out your round, change over to your slug. You'd also have to dump out your round that had just pulled onto the magazine tube. Dump out your slug, dump out both rounds, load in your new slug, and then you'd have one slug. And you'd also have 2 extra rounds that you would pull out of there. So, as you can see, if you're just shooting buckshot, 7 rounds, 8 rounds of buckshot in a row, you're never really going to use this. You're going to aim your shotgun, pull the trigger, bang, 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 bang. You're not going to use that button very often. So I think that it is an oversold addition to this competition between which of these you should buy. It is more convenient for sure to have it over there, but this I find is just as easy to access. Yeah, you have to change your grip, but it's a slight difference, and you also gain the benefit of having it kind of far away so it doesn't accidentally get in your way. Another big difference is the location of the safety. So on a 870, you have a push button safety. So this is on fire. If I'm holding it like this with a right-handed grip, usually it's going to be pushing this little button towards my body. So if I have it on safe, it's going to be like this. You can see there's no red showing. When I'm ready to fire, give it a little click, and then I'm ready to fire. You can see the red showing there. When I'm ready to put it back on safe, I reach under, click it back up. So what I'm doing is I'm reaching under, hitting it with my my middle finger. And this is a push button safety. It's very common. It's very intuitive for a right-handed shooter. Left-handed shooter, not as much. If you're going for shooting the gun, you have to either come around with the thumb, and then that'll put it on fire, and then push with your index finger to take it off of fire, to put it back on safe. You could also come up under with the index finger. It's probably going to be the index finger for a left-handed shooter. There's one big advantage of this over the other system. We'll talk about that in a second though. It'll be more obvious in a second. With the Mossberg, you have a tang mounted safety. So this part of the gun, the receiver, is called the tang. And this safety right here, when you pull it back, it is on safe. When you push it forward, it is on fire. You can see a little red indicator there. So what that would look like is you reach up with your thumb to manipulate that safety. And it's pretty easy. You also don't really have to, you can have your finger wherever you want it to be, your index finger, ready to fire, and you can also manipulate your safety. On the 870, you can't have your finger, it's probably going to be using your index finger to hit that button. So, just a slight difference. Where it really shines is for lefties. For lefties, it's the same exact thing. You can manipulate it with your thumb. So, there's a big advantage for lefties and for ambidextrous, the nature of the ambidextrous nature of the gun. However, if you are going to use a pistol grip shotgun, so this is kind of a hybrid. It's kind of sort of like a half a pistol grip with a regular stock. If you're going to use a full pistol grip where you have your finger down here, if you have your finger wrapped around a pistol grip, you're going to have to totally change your grip to get up here and then come back, swing that thumb around and come back to the pistol grip. So this type of setup is not ideal for having a pistol grip. The 870 is much more conducive to that. If you're holding it down here, you can come back and hit your you can come back and hit the safety pretty easily on both sides. So that's a benefit of the 870. One of the other big differences is the shell lifter. So this little tab right here has to be pushed out of the way when you are loading your rounds into the magazine tube, which is this thing here. So when you're loading, you take your round, you push down, shove it up and into the tube till it clicks, and then it's captive in there. So this one, you have a little lifter that you have to push out of the way. You have to be careful because when you're loading it, if you accidentally mess it up, it'll pop your round away from you, and then you're gonna have to go retrieve it or whatever. This is different on the Mossberg. On the Mossberg, you don't have a lifter. Instead, you just have a slot that you can drop it right in, slip that round right in there. Much, much easier. As far as downsides, there aren't many. Maybe one downside is you might have a little more debris that gets in there because it's a open system. There's no little trapdoor protecting it. I think that the Mossberg has a significant advantage in this regard. It's a lot easier to load rounds into the Mossberg than it is to load it into the 870. But don't think that that is the only thing that is important, because you can train to do either one. So if you were first starting off and you were deciding which of these to choose, I would say that I think you should choose the 870. I'll show you why. So the big reason for me recommending for any shooter is that a shotgun is a high recoiling gun. It's not particularly pleasant to shoot when you're shooting buckshot or slugs or anything 3-inch or higher. So in terms of just shootability, the pleasure of shooting the gun, the 870 is significantly more pleasant to shoot with the high power rounds because it's got extra weight, it soaks up some of that recoil, and it's more pleasant to shoot. The Mossberg 590 is just a little lighter and it's not as pleasant to shoot. I don't have the other examples of the Mossberg line, but the 590, as I said, uses this other type of barrel clamp system to secure the barrel to the magazine tube. The 590A1 has a thicker profile of barrel, so meaning it's got a thicker diameter or profile of the barrel, so it's just thicker walls. That's a feature of the 590A1. This one just has the regular standard profile barrel, which is more similar to the 870 standard profile, and that adds a lot of weight to the 590A1. For me, I don't find that that's a benefit, but if you were interested in having more weight on your shotgun, then I think you should just get the 870 because you have the steel receiver, and I don't really see a benefit of having heavy walled barrels. It does add extra weight, but then you're kind of like, well, you're picking a lighter alloy receiver, but a heavier barrel. It's kind of like, well, you should just pick the one that makes sense. I have another suggestion. One of the big draws of buying either pump shotgun is that people talk about the versatility of changing it up, meaning they like to configure their guns to be cool and different, and like I've done on this shotgun. So this shotgun started life as a Remington 870 Super Mag. It's got a longer ejection port here and a longer bolt. It's actually not that long. It's not really longer. It's just got a little flap here to make it look like it's longer. But these both shoot 2 3/4 inch, 3-inch shells, but the 870 has the potential to be able to shoot 3.5 inch. Now, I thought that when I first was thinking about a shotgun, I thought that was a benefit, but in reality, it's really not. Like, unless you are someone who shoots turkeys and likes to hunt turkeys, or has a need for a 3.5 inch shell, you ain't shooting no 3.5 inch shell very often. It's not pleasant to shoot it out of this gun. The barrel that comes with the gun is a 26 inch barrel, which is a standard for hunting. So before I get into that, don't think that the ability to shoot 3.5 inch shells is not really that big of a benefit for the average shooter. Unless you're someone who actually uses that feature, it's not really a benefit, and you have to pick a specific shotgun to do it. You have the versatility, yeah, but I've only ever done it like a couple times, and it's like, I didn't really need to, and I didn't really want to, and after one shot I was like, oh, no thanks, I don't really want to do this anymore, because it hurts. It's not pleasant to shoot those. You think that weight is enough? It ain't enough. It hurts to shoot those rounds. So when you're picking a shotgun, there are tons and tons of varieties of these two shotguns. So these are built out to be more of like tactical or security, police, law enforcement, whatever you want to call it. And there's two big features that make it that way. One is it has a shorter barrel. So this is a 20-inch barrel, same thing with this one. And whenever you're buying a tactical shotgun, there's really two popular barrel lengths, 18 and 20. And the reason is because when you have a 20-inch barrel or an 18, you are able to maneuver your gun around more easily. With a 26-inch barrel, you'd have another 6 inches here. I'd be hitting the ground right now. And so I have to be much more cognizant of how to manipulate moving my barrel around. So maneuverability is a big factor for defensive or tactical shotguns. So that is really the main feature. Another added benefit is having a longer magazine tube. So normally 870s will come with a 4-round tube. I've added this extension on here. So that's good because you want the extra rounds, right? You've only got 4 plus 1. That's not very many rounds. You want more. Get an extra 3 or plus 2 extension here and you can have extra rounds. So if you're buying a tactical shotgun, those are the things you're looking for. Hunting shotguns, just by definition, they're just going to have a longer barrel. It's going to have a 26 or 28 inch barrel, maybe a little shorter, sometimes longer, and it's got a screw and choke. These do not have screw and chokes. They are cylinder bore. No constriction. This one for sure is. I don't remember if this one is. This is a barrel that I bought aftermarket. So remember how I was telling you it's a good idea to, well, maybe I didn't mention it. It's a good idea to pick a shotgun that is built out the way you want from the get-go. So something a lot of store clerks will tell you is like, one of the cool things about the 870 is you can change the barrel. You can go from a hunting barrel down to an 18-inch barrel, and you can have kind of two shotguns, right? That's true, partially. You can do that. However, these guns are not that expensive, and the barrels are kind of expensive. So the barrels are like $100 to $200, somewhere in there. The gun itself was a hunting 870 is like $350. So you're already like halfway to buying the whole gun. So you might as well just buy the whole gun. Then you have 2 guns, as opposed to 1.5 guns that you have to continuously change depending on what you want to do. My big recommendation is buy the shotgun built out the way you want. So this started its life as a hunting shotgun, and I tricked it out, and I, changed the barrel, changed the magazine tube, added the stock and the fore end, painted it obviously, didn't come like this. This gun basically came the way that I wanted it to come, like that gun. It came with a 20-inch barrel. The fore end and the stock are aftermarket. So the Magpul stuff is aftermarket. The rail is aftermarket. But at its heart, it was already set up like this gun. And I would say that you probably will end up saving some money that way. It's just, you don't really save money by doing that. It might seem like you do because you see a lower price tag, $350 for a hunting shotgun. I'll just put on stuff later, and then it's not as big of a hit all at once, versus if you bought this shotgun in this configuration, it'd probably be like 600, 650. That is pretty much about as much as I have put into this shotgun to do it all aftermarket, to buy all the stuff separately and then add it all in. Really the only main benefit is I have 2 barrels now that I could change out if I wanted to, but I don't do that because it's a pain in the ass to change this. I've got to unscrew this, take this off, change the, it's too much. I just have another shotgun that if I want to go shoot trap or skeet or hunt with, then I have another shotgun to do that with. So pick a shotgun that's in the configuration you want. If you want a hunting shotgun, go buy that. If you want a tactical shotgun, go buy one. I would say that both these shotguns are fantastic. I don't think there's really much of, there's no wrong choice here, is the nice thing. They're just personal preferences. If you had if you're a lefty, this is going to almost always be more desirable to you. If you use a pistol grip, this is almost always going to be more desirable to you. If you're somebody who likes more of the cop look, this is definitely far more used in law enforcement. This one is far more used in the U.S. military. But they both have crossover too. So it's more of a fun second type of cool, as Nothing Fancy calls it, meaning kind of the way you feel about the gun, not really how it performs, just I feel good about it. I like the way that makes me feel to know that I've got, let's say, a very popular cop duty weapon and a very popular military duty weapon. So those are my thoughts on both these guns. I think you can't make a wrong choice, but let me know in the comments down below. And as always, this is Steel Bear Academy. This is firearms training. If anybody would like to get some firearms training in San Luis Obispo County in California, give us a call. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks so much. Signing off.